Hey friends, today I want to talk about Drops, the brand new reveal that Wizards of the Coast has for adding value to a D&D Beyond subscription. How cool is it? Let's look at what they provide, actually walk through it, click on the things, see what's in there, and reveal all the good and bad of D&D Drops. So let's start by looking at the D&D Beyond webpage. There is a blog there by Brian Perry, and I got to interview Brian Perry and Zach Cohn of the D&D Beyond team on Mastering Dungeons. You can head over to that podcast that I do with my partner, Sean Merwin. We had fun talking to them about that, and they didn't even tell us about Drops, but here it is now. I did get to speak with D&D staff, and let me just quickly step back and say, I regularly get to work, from time to time, periodically, get to work with the D&D team. I get to talk to them behind the scenes. I have both friends who are on staff, and sometimes in a professional capacity, I will get paid by either Hasbro or D&D to create things. You can see Acquisitions Incorporated behind that shoulder there. It's over me. I can never point backwards. Anyway, there. That book, which has apparently sunlight on it, making it very hard to read. But that is the Ack Inc. book, official D&D book. I work mostly with Penny Arcade, but also with Wizards of the Coast. I've done organized play with D&D, lots of things. So you could imagine maybe I am very biased, and I am, because D&D is my favorite game, and actually the staff that I meet are super awesome. So that's my bias. But I am also an opinionated individual with lots of critique about anything new that's provided. And some of my opinions may be correct, some of them may be wrong, but I'm going to give them to you here. But yes, I did get to speak with staff specifically about D&D Drops, and that'll inform some of my views as well as I share that with you. So in this post, D&D Beyond talks about all of the content they're providing and what they're trying to do. And so you can read through this, and I'll incorporate this into some of my thinking, but they kind of show you some screenshots and things like that. And let's actually look at that, because one of the things you can do is you can say, view the content library, and you can see 500 plus pieces of content. And let me tell you how much I hate the word content, but it's really hard to avoid when it's just used everywhere. It just feels like it devalues everything. 500 plus pieces of content to craft your adventures. A little bit of weird title because some of it's for DMs and some of it's from players. But you can see here, there are 4 pages that you can click on worth of stuff that is there. And we get a variety of things that all tie into the different types of content that are being provided as D&D Beyond Drops. So let's step back, say, what is this? What's it take to get it? What does it feel like? So you have to be a subscriber. You've got to be at either the hero or the master tier, and you will receive these drops. Drops is very different from previous things that have been offered on D&D Beyond. When you got a perk in the past, you sort of got it if you were there at that time. So you unlocked, say, a special digital D20 that if you were playing online and wanted to use the online dice roller, it would turn into a mimic. If you missed that month, you don't get it. Like, you had to be there when it happened, right? That was a perk for the fact that you were a subscriber. Though that program is getting phased out, ends in June, and it will be replaced by this program, which is starting now. Last Thursday, in fact. So when this new program comes in, the way it works is very different. Everything that is in the drops category is sort of in a special bucket. It's not like a book you bought, right? When you unsubscribe, when you end your subscription to D&D Beyond, you still have that book and anything that's free, and the character builder with the maximum number of characters that are provided. I think it's 3 at the free level. You can do that. You still get what you paid for, you keep. Drops is different. You only get to access it if you have a current valid subscription. So you've got to be at the hero and master tiers paying for that in order to access it. When you subscribe, you get all of it. When you are not subscribed, you lose all of it. You keep all the other things you had. That's not changed. But for drops, it's only when you are currently subscribed. This may be part of their strategy, right? Trying to get people to move from maybe every now and then, or my DM has content and shares it. This is, you've got to be in it to have it. Your DM cannot share this with you, or you as a DM cannot share drops with somebody else. So clearly the team is reworking this in some way to change behavior on subscriptions, maybe based on polls. I had some back and forth with them, but I don't know how solid any of the poll data really is. What will be clear is they'll get to see this, whether suddenly all of you who are viewing this video that maybe don't subscribe are going to suddenly subscribe. And I'm actually really curious. Let me know down below. Are you suddenly going to subscribe because of this, or are you not subscribed and don't care? I'd be really curious about that. But yeah, that's how the subscriptions work. You've got to be at Hero and Master. You've got to be current. You've got to maintain it to have it. If you say made a character with a new feat that came from drops and you unsubscribe, your character will still have that feat. But if you were to say deselect it, select another feat, and then go back to get it, nope, you'd have to get back onto drops to turn that back on. So it doesn't vanish from your character, but you won't have access to it. And if it were to remove from your character, you'd lose it. Hope that makes sense. All right, so what exactly is provided in drops? A number of different things. First, weekly drop-in encounters for the map's VTT. And when I had the conversation with staff, I literally said, you mean like a bandit ambush? Week 1 is literally a bandit ambush. I laughed out loud when I saw that. You get 2 maps per week, and this week is 2 versions at 2 different levels. Maybe that's what they mean. So maybe the 2 maps you're getting the encounters are, like level X, level Y. This week it's level 3 and level 9. They're going to have surveys, so maybe they'll ask whether that's a useful breakdown for you. I'm curious about that as well. I thought that pick of levels was interesting. So weekly drop-in encounter for the map's VTT. Very interesting. Only for the map's VTT. So if you were to say, great, what's in this encounter? You got to get into maps to look. What is the premise of the encounter? There is none. That's for you to decide. So it isn't an encounter per se as much as a bundle of tokens and map configuration. And you've got to provide everything else that comes with it. More on that when I go into, we're going to look at that specific encounter, and I'm going to have a lot of thoughts on that. I think you'll agree it's pretty interesting. All right, then we have monthly drops. So the weekly drop and encounter VTT, then you have monthly drops, including new DM options and player options. So on the DM side, it can be more maps. It can be reveals, which are like sort of handout-like things that you flash in front of the players when you're running a maps VTT game. Monsters and more, they say. And then player options can be spells, feats, one presumes subclasses, and all that kind of thing. We get new drops on Thursdays for the weekly drop-in maps VTT, and on the first Thursday of each month for the other stuff. We have already been told what we'll see next month. Next month, 4 monsters, 5 maps, 25 reveals, and 6 player options. Okay, cool. Now, one of the things I want to talk about business-wise, and I'll just go ahead and say it now, is I'm very curious what the business case for this is, because when I have asked my friends, what do you think about the pricing for D&D Beyond? They're like, this is great. I love what it provides. Some people even go the Mike Shea route of saying it's too good. I'm worried about the ecosystem being too D&D Beyond focused because it's kind of so good that it's very compelling. Just a character builder alone, when it really works well, can be worth that, right? But yeah, there are a lot of tools and the lookup and all of that can be very useful for folks. And so I thought the value was already there. It's interesting to see them add more value. Why is that? Is it because they're going to raise fees later? I asked the team. They said there are no immediate plans to do that and couldn't speak to any future business plans. Kind of the answer you'd expect, but I'm really curious whether there really is anything there, because it's, you're raising your costs, right? D&D is raising its costs to provide all these things. I'm also curious whether down the road, how this program will evolve and change, because giving people tons of stuff is a lot for players and DMs to deal with. And DDI, the 4th edition version of online tools and online content and online magazines, provided so much in the player content category that it really overwhelmed everybody. Anyway, I'm getting off topic, but those are interesting business questions that I have immediately when I look at this. So we talked about what we're going to see next month. That might be a good snapshot, right? 4 monsters, 5 maps, 25 reveals, 6 player options. That might be a lot or a little, depending on how you're looking at it. Again, I'm curious. Let me know what you think. To start the program off, we got a bunch of stuff. Tons of new character options, cosmetic perks, and components. Though, primarily, it's in the cosmetic and maps department. If we look at what you're seeing, on my screen there of the different features, you first see sort of the player context stuff. So there is a pack seeker background. And when you get that pack seeker background, it unlocks a planar packed feat, which of course is then going to be these other feats here. So it's whether your pact comes from Fey, Infernal, that kind of characterizes then the feats and what you're getting from them. I'm not going to click on everything because you're supposed to buy it. Okay, cool. Like, that's reasonable. That's neat. And then we get a few spells, and some of these are based on older editions, like Sticks to Snakes. Sure, fine. I like nostalgia as much as anybody else, maybe more. But I also remember why Sticks to Snakes wasn't a spell that my casters would cast back in AD&D. We get tons of maps from 4th edition. We get then various reveals from 5th edition, artwork kind of things that you can show, a nature sticker pack, dice sets. And after this, we'll get into a rhythm of what you see is basically this sort of character sheet backdrops and stuff. And the reason is a lot of these are things they provided before as perks. These perks go away if you don't already have them. If you do already have them because you've been a subscriber, they won't go away if you unsubscribe. Make sense? And as you go through here, you see now it's just all this sort of stuff. Dice sets and character sheet frames and all these kinds of things. And so if you like that kind of thing, that's cool. To me, the cosmetic stuff, and I suspect to most people, are all nice to have, but not why you're here. You're really here more for the first things that we see on this first page. So out of 500 pieces of content, okay, the reality is it's a smaller set of that. But I mean, it's no joke to get as many maps as they talked about, right? 125 high quality maps for, if you're already subscribing, free. So yes, value increased, check for sure. I want to talk a bit about that player content, which is that it's interesting. This content is not a preview, right? It's not a preview of the pack seeker that is going to be in the blah, blah, blah book. It's just on D&D Drops. And if every month we're getting character features that are only on D&D Drops, to me, that really creates a digital versus paper divide. We're starting to see a situation where D&D is telling us, hey, if you want the most D&D, get on digital, get on D&D Beyond. I don't like that one bit. That's just me. I am a paper person. Like, I do play online. I used to play 4th edition online all the time, some 3rd edition online. I've played a lot of 5th edition online run games. You can see videos on my channel about, where I run games and things like that, or play games. But the truth is, I find that playing online uses energy, or sort of energy neutral. Whereas when I play in person, I am so filled with energy. It's like super exciting and awesome. And doing things like, say, putting Dwarven Forge together makes me excited for a game session. I love my prep. Prepping online tires me. So I don't know why that is. I've spoken to people who are totally the opposite, but there we go, right? And what's the whole point of my saying this? I am curious how this will go. This idea of making all this online content. These encounters are maps. So that bandit encounter, I can kind of pull it out of maps, but that's not super useful to me as a DM. This is made for somebody else that runs, I guess, the maps VTT all the time. Okay, I think that's a fraction of their audience. What do I know? Guessing. Very curious how it'll go. And so let me say the other thing about this. With things like this Pack Seeker and these Fey Pact, Infernal Pact, this is also the kind of thing it's easy to miss. You've got a DM and their player shows up saying, I want to play this. And the DM's like, what? Where do I get that? Well, on D&D Beyond? Okay, maybe, it's a little hard to tell. And it brings up an immediate question of, is this the same quality as the quality of the books that I have on my shelf? The staff say yes. And then when I said, cool, are you going to bundle all of this together and put it in a book? Their thought was, we have no plans to do that. And I think that's weird because, and I get it. I get why they're saying this, but to me, if something is good enough to be in a book, it should be in a book. There's no reason why we should have a vast difference in the value of D&D Beyond and playing on paper. And I think if we do, D&D suffers. Not just we suffer, but I think we do, but D&D itself, I think, will suffer. And I could be wrong about this, but that's just my view. I think that D&D is stronger when the paper book is primary. And I hear staff, even when we interviewed them on Mastering Dungeons, staff are saying paper is number one, but I don't see that in this strategy. It seems to me like paper is number two. And that's not cool to me. I think we really, because, not for me, because the strength, the beauty of 5th edition has been constant influx of new players. And those new players were buying players' handbooks in stores as much as anything else, more than any other thing as far as I can tell. And so that energy was coming in at like a grassroots, right, groundswell sort of level. Throwing things like this at them seemed to me, this is not entry stuff. This is like when you want to try something different type of class features. And that's generally what this will do is when you already have a bunch, this gives you more. When you want something different, this gives you more. And that's great. But to me, the secret to success for Dungeons and Dragons is constantly bringing in an influx of new people and making it easy for those new people to pick up materials and join the hobby and get excited the same way all of us who've been around for a while enjoyed it. So that's what I'd love to see. I don't so far see that here. So as this list of, just 5 feats here grows to be 20, 40, 100, 300 new feats, at what point does it devalue feats to the point where you just don't care to see another one anymore? And that maybe if a book comes out, right, like when they sold the Forgotten Realms books, they talked a lot about all the player content in the Forgotten Realms books that came out. What if your hardcore players just go like, I don't need more player content, right? This is the kind of thing that can do that. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens. Some people, like me, will buy everything. And so you're not changing my behavior. But the more casual player, the interested player, can just run into this mess of content where everything just feels devalued and confusing and overwhelming. I hope we don't get there. Hope I'm wrong. Let's take a look at maps. So, because I'm going to have my own thoughts on this piece. So how does the weekly map drop work? We're going to look at that right now. You can create a new game or just jump into a game. I'm just going to choose one of my existing games when I was running something for Ack Inc. And I'm going to look at this screen. It tells you what's new, blah, 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 blah. It pulls up a map I had before. Don't worry about it. This isn't just from another game that I was working on. In fact, I think I used this map when I was looking at something for Draw Steel, of all things. Here are my maps. If you haven't seen maps before, I have an old tutorial, but largely still true. And we can click on Open Map Browser, and you will see all the different maps that we can get. And you can go to Subscription Maps, and we see Drop-in Encounters. And that is the part that is all about the drops. So we click on Drop-in Encounters. Currently, we see those 2 that we got for this week. Bandit Ambush, level 3, and level 9. And they show you the map that is sort of a player version map, though that's not even actually true. But in theory, it's a no spoiler, just in case you're sharing your screen with your players. Again, not true. You would need a Fog of War version to actually be the player version, but it's okay, whatever. It doesn't have any secrets. That's the most important part. Let's start with the level 9 because it is, to me, it underscores the issues I see here. So we're going to click on it. Oh, I guess that's to look at it. I'm going to click on the plus, which is going to add it, and I can rename it to whatever I want, and then I can choose basic, which would just be the blank map, if you just want to use the map from it, or quick play, which pulls in the tokens, and we're told high difficulty encounter. I confirm that this is in fact true, and it is designed for a level 9 party of 5 characters with 8 creature tokens. Okay, cool. Add, boom. Close this little window, and you see now in my map browser that was here, I can go to Bandit Ambush level 9, and it's going to show up. If I were sharing this with players, they would not see the they would just see the Fog of War, not what you and I are seeing here. But I'm going to center it on my screen so you can see that. And let me just make sure that, yep, that looks like it's coming across pretty reasonably. You've got a start box. You've got a Fog of War set up. Very cool. I'm going to clear the Fog of War so that you can see this as I am. Oh, I should say, spoilers. Yeah, so spoilers for this encounter. If you're going to play Bandit Ambush, stop watching, I guess. Okay. So here we see the map. And immediately when I saw this map, I thought, well, this map wasn't commissioned for this. Or please tell me this was not commissioned for this specific thing, because what is happening here? this is a really weird map to use for a bandit ambush, and the setup is really weird, and the start box is really weird. So when I look at this, I don't know where this came from. I'd be curious if somebody recognizes this map, but to me, this is the kind of map you would use for a chase. We start at the top. In theory, we're going to the bottom. And then we've got all these currently hidden tokens. I'm going to change to my selection token, and so they're all grouped. I can reveal them all, so I just see them, and I'm going to ungroup them so I can click on them separately. You can see that. But yeah, so here are all the tokens, and you see they have names like the eyes, the pale, is it? Pale, yeah. The muscle, the bruiser. And let's just pause for a second and go ambush encounter. We had a term for this in 3rd edition organized play where we would say obligatory thug encounter, an OTE. And the idea was that when a writer was creating adventure and they just needed to get more XP into the mod to fulfill the requirements of the game rules, they would just throw a thug encounter at you. You'd be walking through the city streets and you get attacked. You'd be walking through a forest and you would just get attacked. And we laughed at it because it's such a boring encounter. Just dropping a bunch of people ambushing you like, oh, bandits. Great. Why am I having fun? Like, okay, it's always fun to roll dice. It's always fun to, murder some enemies and whatever. But fun, really good fun, comes from story, from narrative, from interactions, from discovery, from role playing, right? That's why it's a role playing game, not a board game. None of that is provided here. Outside of their names, I do like that they were named. I think that's cool. That's neat. It almost suggests that there could be a story, but there is no story here. There is no place where I go for a handout and find, here's the story of this encounter. And also, all of it is only in maps. So if I'm a paper DM, which I am, I would have to go here and pull all these components out to understand how it works and maybe print out the map somehow or something, screenshot it, print it, So I've got a little bit of issue with how it's only in the maps VTT. Then I have a real issue with this map and the setup. Players are going to start up here in this top area. Okay. But now they're going to wind down this road and I guess come to the slightly wider area. What is supposed to happen here? Do the eyes and the pale attack? Let's say they don't. So we continue on walking here. I'm now boring my players soundly. Okay, keep moving, keep moving. Now they get to here. Do the muscle and the bruiser attack and the eyes and the pale attack from behind? If they do, what are these four doing down here? Do they rush up through the woods, taking a round to get there because maybe difficult terrain or whatever? Why is this ambush so badly planned? Now, we could say the players just move, and get here. But even if they get here, why are the eyes and the pale and the bodyguard and the boss so far away from the center area? I don't know what this map is doing. I think it's a bad map for an ambush. And I don't know why. And I don't know why the start box is here. I think because this is the map they found that had existed from something before. And so they just used it and it's got a terrible start box. The start box should be here and these guys should be closer. And this just isn't a good map for this encounter. So I'm very sorry. I want to love this. I do. But it's a really badly designed encounter. I want better quality from Wizards, folks. I know you're capable. You're all really amazing. If anybody from staff's watching, I'm sorry. I know you're great. I know you're better than this. I don't know what happened. You're probably just rushing to get out week one, but this is the issue with constant weekly content. It's hard to do at a quality level and get it out in time. I know this because I oversee projects. It's really difficult. So, all right, we've got this setup. I don't love the setup. Let's put that aside. Let's pretend that I like it. And let's move on to the creatures themselves. This is a level 9 bandit ambush, and we can click on, say the eyes, and we will see the stat block for the eyes in D&D Beyond. Very cool, by the way. Maps integration, amazing. The way all this works, really good, really, really useful. If you've unlocked all this, stuff, and you would through drops, you'd have these things unlocked. Really cool. But the eyes is a spy CR1. So my level 9 creatures are going against the CR1 spy, who has a +4 to attack, does essentially 5 + 7 damage, which isn't terrible. The spy is actually pretty strong for CR1. But, an average of 12 damage per round. who else do I have? Well, I have the Slicer. And if I look at the Slicer's stat block, that's an assassin. My AC is 16, my hit points are 97, my attack roll is 7, and I can do a bunch of damage as an assassin. I can actually do quite the hurting on you. And so I actually looked at some of these creatures to sort of assess what it's like. The Spy has +4 to attacks, 27 hit points, 12 damage per round DPR. I know DPR isn't the only thing, but bear with me. The Assassin, +7 attacks, 97 hit points, 87 damage per round that it can do. We also have a Maging encounter, and that Mage's DPR can vary greatly from 66 a round, lower than the Assassin, to 132 per round if you were able to get off your AoE in, say, a 3-round turn. All of these stats, by the way, you get the result of them if you subscribe to my Patreon and get the cool worksheets that I provide you. Now, so there's a wide disparity here. I don't love that you've built an encounter for me that has a Spy and an Assassin and a Mage. I think this is too much variance. There are 8 tokens here. Every single one of these is a different stat block. Each one of these, every 8. These are 8 different stat blocks. It's not 4 of something and 4 of something attacking me. It's 8 different stat blocks I need to manage as a DM. That's a recipe for overwhelming. And earlier when I talked about, to me, the key to victory is bringing in constant new players into this. We have just turned them away. And you might say, Teos, they're probably not running a level 9. But, I see a lot of DMs that in organized play will say, I don't want to run high level because it's hard. You know what makes it super hard? When you have 8 different stat blocks to try and master. Because, hey, running an Assassin, you want to understand that stat block. Running a Mage, running even a Spy, you want to read those stat blocks. And you've got to do that for 8 of these guys. But let's also look at what is in these creatures themselves. So now what I'm sharing with you is my own adventure, encounter, and monster design tools that I provide to Patreon supporters. Thank you, Patreon supporters, for making this video possible. And here you can see the breakdown of their recommendation of 5, let me go to level 9 heroes, and 5 level 9 heroes. And we can see the breakdown. I have copied over here by looking at maps what is in the encounter: the Spy, the Vampire Familiar, the Gladiator, the Warrior Veteran, the Assassin, the Mage, the Tough Boss, and the Pirate Captain. 8 different monsters. I'm glad they didn't go with 9 because I never thought it would be wild enough to put 9 different creatures in an encounter. That's why I have 8 here. I fortunately put an 8. And you can see the disparity in their CRs here, right? So from 1 to 2 of them are at CR3, CR4, CR5, 2 CR6s, and the CR8 Assassin. So there's really a really wide disparity here in the CRs. There are a ton of stat blocks to track. Yes, it is a high challenge encounter, but I don't know that it's super useful. Like, it's still a high challenge if we get rid of that Spy, and it would be way easier to run. But again, I don't know, and it'd be nice if I knew. If this encounter had come with something telling me about the encounter, I would be able to prep it better. Like, maybe the idea is the Spy and the Vampire Familiar will distract as soon as they get past them, and they're supposed to be quick and easy to beat. And then the others, surprised with how much stronger they are. Maybe there's some special tactical thing going on here. I don't know if there is. And so this is a little disappointing. I think that most people that oversee, say, organized play, if you drew up an encounter like this, we would return it to you and ask you to do it differently because it's just too much brain load and not enough payoff. There's too much here to try to run and master. Even really good DMs will just say, no, I'm going to change this up and just have, say, a fight with 4 and then choose a monster. Right? I'd be curious, can you do 4 gliders? I don't know. We could use the spreadsheet to figure it out. I'm not going to bother doing that. All right. So those are some issues there. Does it get better at the level 3 version? Yes. So let's go and look at the level 3 version. We'll go to our browser again, subscription, drop in, add in the level 3. We'll go with the quick play. And when we look at it here, It again will be in the fog of war. We're going to remove the fog of war. And we've got all these guys. I'm going to, we go all, yes, I'm going to select, and we see we're again all hidden and grouped. So here, if you look at this, one good thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creatures, much better to have 5 creatures. And if I go and share with you what they are, I'm going to switch to be 3rd level characters, and we'll look at this second spreadsheet here. And you can see here we have a scout, a berserker, 2 pirates, yes, 2 of the same monster, and a bandit captain. Still, what I would say, in like an organized play when we're running at conventions, DMs that maybe have not quite as long to prep as we would like, but still plenty of time to prep, we would say this is a bit complicated, but within reason. So it's within reason on the number of creatures and the complexity to them. Our CRs vary from 1/2 with the scout, but scouts are pretty fun and nimble, probably can work. And then we have CR1 and 2 CR2s, 2 CR1s and 2 CR2s because there are 2 of these pirates. It's a high challenge as before, pretty reasonable, in terms of the choice of how hard to make it. No problem there. That's good with that scout berserker. And when we look at the map itself, this again, we again have that weird sort of start block. Players start here, way up there. But now the ambush is almost a little better in that if we got here, maybe they could attack in the middle. But really, the start box should be here. And I don't know why these 2 are so far away. I mean, the boss, maybe if you want to, they come in, wait in later, but there's no reason why the eyes would, no. Yeah. So this was the week 1 first look at the weekly drop-in encounters. What would I like to see? Well, I would like to see a little more work on the design of these being easy to run, effective for any DM of any experience level to run these well. I want to see the map really meet the needs of the encounter. I know they're trying to reuse assets. That's cool, but then change the concept. You chose to put these things together and call it bandit ambush because I guess that's the idea that it's simple. But change up the concept to fit if you only have a particular map. Like make it interesting for this situation. This to me is a kind of map that might be good with a race, where you got to decide whether you're going across difficult terrain or jumping and what. That could be fun to try to race to the bottom. That would have been a neat thing. I would also like to see that I think level 9 might be a little high for what most DMs want to run, but that's where they can survey and find that out. I might be wrong about that. Like maybe level 3 and level 6 or 7 might be a better target. I don't know. I would love to see a blog that accompanies this. Tell me how to run this ambush and make it fun. Now, there is some word that they might have some more in-depth maps, maps encounters later. I think that's what I kind of want for everything. I want these things to have a little story. And if they just even a very simple premise for a random encounter type story, that's something I can breathe life into, work off of. It becomes much more valuable to me as a DM. Just having a bunch of tokens is of only so much use because encounter design comes from the concept and the goals. And so I don't know why there are all these different monsters, what they're supposed to do, how they play out their tactics, any of that. Having a little bit of that would really help, and having a narrative would make it way easier to bring into my story. Even if I don't like the narrative, it gives me something to think off of and make my own version. So would love to see that in the future. The other thing I might want is encounters. It's fine to start with something simple like a bandit ambush. To me, that's fairly lackluster. It's like rats in the basement. Like, yes, you can make it work, but is it something we go and tell everybody about? Like, woo, this week I fought a bandit ambush. Like, no, right? And that's where I would love to have, yes, I understand the value of drop-ins, but interesting things, right? A summoning ritual gone wrong, things like that would be fun to put in. Really interesting urban encounters, right? Things that would shock and surprise as you're exploring a city that something's going on. That would be really fun to see. And again, with a tiny bit of write-up, so I just can drop that into my game, yes, but also that I would know, why and what I'm doing. That would be super fun. So I hope that we see interesting concepts come in over time. So a few last thoughts here is when it comes to how this is made, there were a number of questions that the group I was a part of asked about the quality level behind the drops. And what we heard there and what's said in this blog is that it's going to be developed in the same way they create anything internally. So the same level of quality is being hit. It goes through the inclusivity, it goes through editing and development. They use a combination of staff and freelancers. And last I heard, D&D staff are incredibly busy. So this seems like a fair amount of work, and it needs to pay off. I again feel like if it's as good as it should be in a book. But also I'm a little worried that where this is headed is a subscription price increase, which I think could really hurt the goals of our hobby, which we want in the industry to see more people coming in, more people being a part of it, more people being in the family. So I hope that we will see the amount of things that are provided. Again, I think the value is really high. If there was a little more focus on bringing in new players, making this interesting, helping you DM things, seeing how to DM online, things that helped you, things that fleshed out your worlds, information for DMs on how to build an interesting tavern encounter. And then maybe that's in maps and an encounter that comes with it. Even on the player side, I feel like as a player, I have a lot of features. Now, I do love features, so I will take any features you give me. I will buy those books. But I don't know that's true of anybody, or even most people. And so what I would welcome is ideas on how to play really cool characters, how to use the features that I have, neat tricks to do. That I might appreciate a lot more than being overwhelmed by content. But I may be different in that. Feel free to tell me down below. I am really, really curious to see where drops will head in the future. I hope you've enjoyed this overview, and I hope that you have enjoyed the video itself, thinking through these concepts, the tour of D&D Drops. If you do have access to Drops, you've played around it, or if you have reactions to these questions I'm asking, I'd love to hear what you think. What will this, if you're not a subscriber, does this make you want to subscribe? I'm super curious about that. And as a new player versus experienced player, whether this makes you want to be a subscriber or maintain your subscription. Maybe you're somebody who's thinking canceling and you're thinking retaining it. Very curious about that. It's going to be super fun to see this evolve. If you want to hear more about the kind of business side considerations, this week on Mastering Dungeons, we will absolutely be talking about this topic of D&D Drops. And it'll be fun to discuss with my partner in crime, Sean Merwin, because Sean, well, would it shock us if Sean is working on Drops? It would not. He's not going to be able to say it or confirm it or deny it, but he's often working with Wizards, so that's a possibility. Will I in the future? I don't know. I can tell you I'm currently not. But it's always possible. And then it'll be my fault for a Bandit encounter. So thanks to everybody at the Patreon group who makes these videos possible. I will see you next time.